stop the leak, we want to contain and clean up the oil, and we want to help the people of this region return to their lives and their livelihoods as soon as possible.
With oil still flowing, the president moves more manpower to the Gulf. Change is coming to MMS. The tainted agency gets a new leader. And the Interior Department tightens regulations on deepwater drilling.
From the Energy News Center in Washington, D.C., this is the Energy Report with Susan McGinnis.
Good afternoon, I'm Susan McGinnis. Thanks for joining us for the Energy Report. The Obama administration is beefing up its response to the Gulf oil spill. The president visited the Gulf Coast today for the second time since the Deepwater Horizon rig exploded and sank more than a month ago. And he's ordered a massive increase in manpower. The president says he will triple the number of people in places where oil has hit the shore or is within 24 hours of doing so. He's hoping the increase will help contain the spill more quickly and minimize the amount of time that oil's on the coastline. But the president also acknowledged the Coast Guard still doesn't have all the materials it needs.
Whatever we do is actually going to work, particularly because we're going to have not unlimited resources, at least not right now. For example, there's a limited amount of boom. We're going to try to get more boom manufactured, but that may take some time, and that means we're going to have to make some decisions about how to deploy it effectively. The bottom line is this. Every decision we make is based on a single criteria: what's going to best protect and make whole the people and the ecosystems of the Gulf.
As for efforts to plug the leak, the president says we'll know this weekend if that top kill procedure works. If not, he says Energy Secretary Chu has a team of scientists working on other plans. And no matter what, the president says he will take responsibility for stopping the leak and cleaning up the oil. With Elizabeth Birnbaum gone as head of the Interior Department's Minerals Management Service, the head of the Bureau of Land Management is stepping in to run the place. BLM's Bob Abbey takes over as the acting leader of MMS since Birnbaum resigned under pressure. That's after she was criticized for failing to move quickly enough to reverse a culture in which regulators favored the oil and natural gas industries. Interior Secretary Ken Salazar has already announced a radical restructuring of MMS, which has come under fire for lax oversight of offshore drilling. Abbey will begin putting that plan into place. In an effort to prevent future offshore drilling accidents, Interior Secretary Salazar says the government will require certification of blowout preventers by an independent third party. After the April 20th explosion and spill, Salazar ordered immediate inspections of all 33 deepwater drilling rigs in the Gulf. Inspectors checked to see if blowout preventers had been tested and if emergency exercises were taking place. BP is cutting back on its use of chemical dispersants in the cleanup in the Gulf. EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson told the House Energy and Commerce Committee the company used 70,000 gallons of dispersants on Sunday, but by Wednesday that was down to just 12,000. She says that shows EPA has been aggressive in getting BP to scale back its use of these dispersants because some of their long-term effects are unknown. She admits BP is still using the dispersant Corex at 9,500, although EPA told it last week to find a less toxic alternative. It's been determined to be a moderate human health hazard, can cause eye, skin, and respiratory irritation with prolonged exposure. When Congress returns from its Memorial Day break in 2 weeks, senators will return to climate negotiations. Majority Leader Harry Reid will reopen discussions about the Kerry Lieberman climate bill. Politico says Reid plans to meet with the chairman of relevant committees June 10th to talk about the path forward for the American Power Act. That's the same day Lisa Murkowski's disapproval resolution faces a vote. That measure would postpone EPA regulation. Today we talked with energy strategist Mike McKenna about what that vote could tell us about the future for climate legislation.
If you think that Kerry Lieberman's going to happen, going to come to the floor in substantially the same form that it is now, I think you'd look at that resolution disapproval and realize that, you know, if there are 44 or 45 or 46 yes votes, that, you know, there's 52, 53, 54 no votes. What it tells you is there aren't 60 votes for any of this stuff. And that's, you know, the important part of that resolution vote may be the vote discovery that we're gonna have.
McKenna also has doubts about the climate bill ever reaching the Senate floor. He tells us the June 10th vote on the Murkowski disapproval resolution may be the only vote on carbon that this Congress takes. Well, the recent move higher in oil prices is being pinned on rising stock markets, improving economic data, and President Obama's suspension of deepwater drilling for 6 months. We asked Elliott of the Energy Strategist for his take on the impact.
It really depends upon how long it stays. If they continue to extend it, month by month past the beginning of next year, I think it could have a much more profound impact. The thing is, they're allowing existing drilling projects to go ahead, but they're not permitting new projects. So there are a lot of projects ongoing right now. Those are going to carry on even with the moratorium in place. Problem's going to come as those producers try to permit new wells, and that would be a much bigger problem if it carries on into next year.
Congress wants Americans to buy electric cars and cities to build charging stations. Bills introduced in the House and Senate offer incentives for what sponsors hope will lead to broad-based deployment of electric vehicles. The Senate bill would provide grants up to $250 million for recharging stations and other infrastructure in as many as 15 cities. It would offer electric vehicle buyers an additional $2,500 tax credit that brings the total to $10,000 a vehicle. And it proposes $1.5 billion for research toward advanced batteries. The House version offers $800 million in grants to 5 communities and offers vehicle owners a $2,000 tax credit to buy and install charging equipment. Investigators are headed into Massey Energy's Upper Big Branch mine for the first time since the disaster. They go in next Wednesday. Massey says they'll focus on monitoring the mine's atmosphere. Unsafe levels of toxic and explosive gases have kept federal and state investigators out of the mine. No one has been underground there since rescuers recovered the last of the 29 men killed there in the explosion April 5th. West Virginia's Mine Safety Chief Ron Wooten says investigators plan to go directly to the area where most of the victims were killed to gather samples. If that goes well, investigators return next Friday. That is the Energy Report. We'll see you on Tuesday with your latest energy news. And for any suggestions or comments about our programming on Clean Skies News, you can email us at contact@cleanskies.com and find us on Twitter and Facebook. From all of us here in the Energy News Center, have a great weekend.